这条男爵的30秒钟 ，W1誓死守护最后的一个桥头堡。
大龙 buff 还有最后一波兵，这一波兵能不能守得住？拓扑的话肯定要发动进攻了，这一波。最后一个门要打了，这个位置开了，但是后排被开了，天宇落出了大招，但是EZ被秒了
，EZ 被秒了，没有保下 EZ 系的一个位置，也是来不及回到泉水内。W 这波应该是没有办法撑住了 ，Top 今天也在西安以让1追2的一个方式带走了他们主内最后一轮循环的第1场胜利。
作为职业选手，不能只看当下。目前的确出了很多问题，但是我会认真对待问题，调整自己，会更加努力的。
目前的话，我们问题蛮多的，但是出了问题就是要改。我们会付出比平时更多的努力，怀着对游戏的这份喜爱，坚定不移地走下去。
目前 WE 处于一个严峻的情形中，剩下的时间里，我们会尽最大的努力，争取一个好的结果。
但是这自己砍完就砍不出伤害，反手落光束开场，进场魅惑到了4个人，5个人全部魅惑到了。那这边双击要一涌而上，开始灌输出，大舅子身上还有很好的状态，可以继续打 Swift 的，而且西野已经冲到对方的潜水前面了。这边2个金身抬一下，
想再守一下，但是没什么机会啊，只剩下一个 Coco，4个残血可以强行把这个 Coco 给打死。团灭之后 ，W 可以直接收下这场比赛胜利。
现在的每一场比赛对于每一支战队来说都很重要，对于我们来说也一样。EDG 会打出自己的优势，拿下与 W1 的这场比赛。
其实目前 W1 所经历的是每一个战队都有可能经历的阶段，我们也希望能够不断进步，一直强下去。
虽然 W1 目前状态不是很好，战绩也不是很好，但他们还是有一定的实力的，我们不会掉以轻心，还是会全力以赴拿下这场比赛的胜利。
Two Titans brought low by the clash of fates and the twisting of history that is the LPL are about to meet and go head-to-head once more as WE get the chance to once again seek out revenge against the betrayers, Edward Gaming. The winningest team in the history of the LPL now finds themselves at an all-time low and in the house of their greatest nemesis, the team that they originally splintered in their inception. Of course, WE have not forgotten, and neither have we. But as you can see, WE, despite their misfortunes in the standings, are still smiling and laughing as they make their way backstage. That positive attitude is something that we need to see, because they will absolutely need to bring it to bear as this 3-12 team tries to challenge Edward Gaming within their own hometown in front of the fans. The LPL is back, ladies and gentlemen, and EDG will be showing up in this game. Clearlove gets to make his return after his set just a few days ago, but it's somber faces for the EDG players and probably somber faces for the EDG fans as well, as they do now need to find themselves a win. Welcome, everyone. I'm Dom. This is Clement, and we've got a lot to talk about. There is a lot going on in the LPL, so we're just going to race through the standings and get you guys caught up with what's happening, because this should be a Clash of Titans any other time of year, but this one right now, you get excited. These are two top-of-the-table teams. These are two of the biggest names in LPL history, but today is something different.
Yeah, these two teams were the first and second seed to represent LPL at Worlds last year around, but they're no longer on the same pedestal. They've fallen very far behind, and just in a while, we'll explain what is happening.
Yeah, and again, once we get those standings up, we can show you where exactly everything is shaking out. Actually, we're going to go ahead and skip over the standings and go straight into the matchup because, again, the players want to get in the game, and so do we. There's a lot going on right now. We've talked about Team WE. For those of you who haven't been following the LPL, they are 3-12. They have not been playing with the the 5 that went to semifinals, and after a rough spring split, they started to try to shake things up in the bottom lane, in the jungle, to find some consistency. But finally, they're starting to find a little bit of momentum by going back to their old style. Their opponents, though, Edward Gaming, is the team I think we should talk about first, because they're at a 0-6 loss streak, the longest loss streak this team has ever been on. This is a career low for this organization.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are witnessing history, because no matter how EDG comes out of this slump, and they will come out of it someday, we have to reevaluate this team. It's been 22 days consecutively since they won a single set, now in a 0-6 slump. The worst they've ever done in a single split is 4 losses. They've surpassed that in a single losing streak right here. So there's a lot of questions being thrown at the team, and it's a question about how can they actually rebound.
And this is a very important thing to take a look at, because again, this team that is 0-6 right now in their wins, they're actually 7-8 in the standings. They've doubled the amount of losses that they've had prior in earlier splits. Of course, things get a little bit messy when you go back to 2014, 2015, when things were still in the best of 2 format, but clear losses EDG are taking over and over time again. We have to get into why this is happening, because it seems to be a systemic issue with the team.
Yeah, the biggest thing that we've noticed that is EDG is running into a mid-game collapse. 20 to 25 minutes is the graveyard for EDG. If we look at the GD changes, which is basically the goal difference from 25 minutes minus the goal difference of 20 minutes, then EDG are the worst team in that 5-minute stretch. And these numbers, if you just look at them, these are not typos. They've actually lost 12,000 gold against Rogue Warriors in a single 5-minute stretch. You would need to be aced 4 times to get a stat like that. And even if you go down the list, it's happening over and over again. EDG don't know how to play this this stretch.
Yeah, and it's so scary considering how the meta has trained all of these teams in the LPL to play around that period of time. As the dogpile meta is starting to phase out into more teamfight-oriented styles, teams suddenly have so much more pressure and snowball threat during that period of time, as we can clearly see with even LGD and TOP taking massive gold differences against EDG. That said, how are they doing this? Because 12,000 gold, like you said, you have to get aced 4 times. I'm pretty sure death timers would make that impossible.
Exactly. And the biggest thing we're seeing is that EDG are giving up Baron unnecessarily. They're going into 20 minutes. They're not having this big usual gold lead that they used to have, and they're looking for ways to force the game wide open. And the way that they're doing it is going to bottom lane and trying to find picks. This is off of their game versus Rogue Warriors. You can see Ray is in the top lane split pushing, but they don't get the inhibitor, and they give up the Baron for free straight off the back of it. It's kind of the same thing in their LGD series as well. They find a pick in the bot lane, but what is the enemy team doing on the other side? They're taking away the big purple worm, the most important objective of the game.
And we can even see teams like BLG are able to identify this using the 5-man Realm Warp, even on top of Vision from EDG, to quickly drop a control ward and deny it. And here we can finally see, once again, Scout split pushing along with Ray on the other side of the map, but the moment they see that Scout is missing, TOP are the ones who force a fight onto EDG, who are normally so controlled and tempo-based around this period of time that EDG are forced to make bad decisions.
This is just such a consistent play that we see from them. In their 6-series losing streak, we've actually seen this exact play happen 6 times. They go for a bot lane side lane push, or they go for a side lane pick, and the enemy team swings to the top side, takes away their Baron, and then EDG is left in this state where they didn't take enough in the bot side, and now they have to go up, and they collapse the entire map shortly afterwards. So it boils down to a lot of issues right here, but I think the number one thing I see out of them is that their cross-map communication is just not up to snuff. They can't have 2 Korean players in the side lane at the same time. Sure, they do speak Chinese, but I don't think they can really make those precise shot calling when the difference is maybe only 5 seconds. We've seen that play over and over again in the LGD. The 2 of them were looking for a pick in the bot lane. They didn't have their teleports, and instantly the Baron was gone.
It's the late reaction to try to recover from looking for just a little bit too much from EDG. So then, tell me, Dr. Clement, what sort of prescription do we have to give this team to solve this issue? Is this as easy as cleaning up the cross-map communication, or
is there something
more systemic here?
And a long face. The systemic problem is that EDG has never been a good side lane team. That's the question. They've never actually played around their top side too much. They're not a split pushing team. And when it comes to this split where the relative power between EDG and the rest of the LPL has caught up, they don't have a very clear path to advance the game past 20 minutes. So what they're trying right now is going for this split push thing. They're going for this all in onto the side lane, and it's not succeeding. If you look at EDG's best game in the same period, their best games have actually been when they played with a tank, with a Cho'Gath. They just put the Cho'Gath with the 5-man, they have map control, and they can force their way into these barren areas, into the enemy jungle, and they've been a lot smoother when they can play that style. When they have to put Ray in a side lane, have to split push for him to advance the game, that's where they run into tons of trouble. And I really like what our producer basically said about the situation, is that you can take EDG out of Mouse, but you can't take the mouse out of EDG.
Yeah.
They're just not adept at going with the split push, and they're trying to force themselves to open up leads past 20 minutes.
Well, if this team wants to make playoffs, because again, their playoff spot is not locked, they need to show us that they can play around that tank style and start taking wins, or that this split push style can be successful. And whether that's through communication or simply not drafting that split push style, we're about to find out. Because at this point, it's take 2 of these, call me in the morning and see if the condition improves. Because EDG fans, they are hoping, they are praying. This is one of the biggest organizations in the entire world in League of Legends. And now they find themselves at an all-time low. But let's get into the lineups. Of course, EDG, they're starting on the blue side. It's Ray, Clearlove making his return again, Scout, along with iBoy and Mako.
They had Clearlove come into the roster and try to improve the situation. He has been helming the team since Haro started the descent in the first 3 sets. But on WE's side, we do have Pepper coming in over Condi. People were hoping for the original 2017 Worlds roster, but it doesn't seem to be.
Still just off by 1 man, though you do need to keep your eyes on that bottom lane because Ben is finally making his return as well for Team WE. This is the first time that he's back on the roster since Game 1 of this split against TOP, where he played with Imp and Gentle. So this is the first time of 2018 summer that we get to see Mystic and Ben finally getting back together. Though, as you said, it's with Pepper in the jungle, so we're still not quite back to square one for Team WE. And simple question, Clement. Is it that easy going back to the original 5 semifinal roster for Team WE to look competitive once again, or do you think we'll be seeing something different with Pepper in the jungle?
To be honest, WE moved away from that roster for a reason. Personally, I think it was probably the cohesion on the team. Ben was slumping pretty heavily for his season. Mystic was as well in Spring Split. That's why they broke those 2 apart, brought in new supports. We now have Missing. We have now 694 on the roster as well. But I'm really not sure about how Mystic and Ben, these 2 will do. It's been a very long time since we actually seen them play together. You have to go all the way back into Spring Split to actually see that happening, and it was not a good sight.
And what a bottom lane to have to go up against iBoy and Mako, who are so strong and so dominant. iBoy, of course, challenging for the title of 2nd best AD carry in the league, though I'm sure to some analysts in the LPL it's just a foregone conclusion. But here we can see some of the stats for this EDG versus Team WE matchup. Things are looking pretty dire for some of those statistics for Team EDG. As you can see, their goal difference later on becoming a little bit more harsh.
Yeah, well, we can see the difference between these 2 teams is that EDG is coming out swinging, they're winning early, but then they're giving up that 20 to 25 minute area that we were talking about. But on WE's side, they're just kind of slowly petering out at the end. Both of these teams actually share a same stat that I found very interesting, is they have incredibly low win rates in the fights that they pick themselves. They're 12th and 13th in the league. So team fight selection is the big thing that I think will swing this series.
I mean, we talked about it before, is that if EDG want to stop playing the split push style, well, obviously that means group everyone back up together, try to play around Ray as a tank, which is that classic style that we saw from EDG in spring, heck, that we've seen from EDG for their entire career, because this is a storied organization. Or do you think they can play the split push style? It's just missing the execution. Is this a testing ground for Team EDG? Do they continue to boil away with these unique picks, these split push style?
I'll be honest, I feel like EDG right now, they just need to go back to something that's comfortable, they know how to execute, and currently their strong point on the map has been their bot lane. Their bot lane consistently still has gold winning leads, even at 15 minutes, even going on to 20 minutes. If they want to play, I would say play around that. Be comfortable with yourself.
And how funny that you mentioned EDG. Their bot lane is pretty good. Their bot lane has always been good.
Exactly.
That has never been the question. It's looking at the rest. It's looking at Scout and Ray and see how they fill things out. But already, bot lane priority focus from Mako. We do see a Xayah ban away from Mystic, and we keep on seeing this Evelynn ban against Clearlove.
Yeah.
He was previously known as the Evelynn, his most signature pick behind that Sejuani, heck, even ahead of that Sejuani back in the day. But new Evelynn, maybe not so much, unless he's been practicing this in scrims a little bit. So WE seems like they've been doing their homework, but we do see the Rise immediate pickup.
Yeah, I really like what EDG are doing right here, because currently the strongest bot lane in the league, agreed by most analysts, is the Varus and Tahm Kench duo. And on WE's side, they don't really play the Varus. Mystic has never been a big player on that pick, so they're taking away the Tahm Kench first, they're going to guarantee themselves the Varus, and they're going to set up a strong winning bot lane, just like we talked about in the pregame.
Now here comes the big twist for EDG. You can see that Clearlove fan in the crowd cheering on, keeping the family at home updated. He just picked Mako. He's hovering the Gragas right now. The Gragas is something that we like, and there's the Varus you were talking about for that very strong bottom lane. But again, we have to see what's next for EDG. Do they pick up a tank for Ray? Do they set up Scout on a counterpick mid laner against that Rise?
What?
That would be one heck of a split pusher.
Typically, we do see the answers to...
Okay,
they're going back to the Cho'Gath. So this is what I want to see out from EDG. With a tank like Cho'Gath, you don't need to think about the side lane pressure. You're probably not going to 4-man gank into the bot lane for a Cho'Gath. So it really alleviates their problem. You're not going to see the same mistakes that we just showed you in those B-rolls. Those mistakes happened 6 times in a row in every single series they played. So if they can avoid that pitfall, it's great news for EDG.
To deal with that, though, we're seeing Mystic on his namesake Ezreal firing that Mystic shot across as excellent Xayah and Rakan between Mystic and Ben.
That's a weird Rakan
face.
It's not a happy Rakan face right there.
Now, as we're starting to see EDG set this up, WE, they can recognize, okay, they're not going to play that split push style. That means we can start to separate some of the Wombo, some of the strong champions that enable that 5v5, and that's where we see the Orianna ban.
The big thing that we're seeing right here is WE are saying that we can't actually contest in the bot lane, so we're going to pick something as safe as possible. So EDG is going to have a lot of leeway to actually snowball off that bot lane and probably bring it to the mid lane as well. WE currently, they have forced themselves into picking a very strong jungler, or this game could actually collapse.
Well, we're not seeing that just yet. Pepper, we know him to be a lot more aggro than Condi. He loves to live inside of the enemy jungle and gank as much as possible. We'll see what he decides to take for himself, as it's actually an Ornn ban away from 957, along with that Gnar. 957, one of the best top laners in the world at absorbing pressure and denying pressure through those lanes, through those ganks. I'm a bit curious to see what other champions he has available to him here, if he wants to try to deny the 5v5, or perhaps embrace it with that Ornn banned away.
The Ornn ban is pretty interesting because usually you do think of the Cho'Gath as being able to out-pressure out the Ornn in terms of the late game and the laning phase, but they're banning away the Ornn because they don't want their bot lane to be put in a situation. Yeah, exactly. If you have a Cho'Gath and Ornn teleport at the same time, the Ornn is always going to come out ahead with his ultimate. Much easier to hit. I love the Trundle ban right here, because Trundle is a Tahm Kench killer. You force the flash out early level 2, you come back to that lane, and Tahm Kench just has no answer to that whatsoever. So they're taking away a strong jungle component for WE and saying, hey, we're not going to let you equalize the bottom half of the map.
And look at that, Shen is now locked in for 957 in the top lane. I'm a bit curious to see if he goes for the Flandre style, the Trinity Force Titanic Hydra Shen, maximum
that
gold
would be
generation.
957.
Or, yeah, if he does go the 957 style, where he split pushes and he protects his mid and bottom lane, which seems that WE are content to play that 35-minute team style, which we talked about earlier. That's the team fight style where they saw that success, but there's a lot of shred as Vel'Koz is locked in for Scout in the mid lane, and Rek'Sai is being looked at. The triple void comp from EDG.
I really like this Vel'Koz pick because what they're doing is they're outranging WE's composition. WE right now, they don't have the best of engage, and what EDG are telling them is you have to run into my composition. You have to run into my Cho'Gath, my Varus, and this is most likely going to be a poke Varus.
What was it you said a little bit earlier? Both of these teams have some of the lowest win rates when they're the ones that engage. The two worst on
only better than Vici, but we don't talk about Vici when we're talking about stats. So
yeah. Well, all right. So we've got the Rek'Sai, we've got the triple Void comp. As you said, lots of range, excellent siege, excellent poke and harass. They've also got pretty good wave clear if they manage to fall behind. Here's that aggro junglers you were looking at.
Yep.
Xin Zhao is the pickup, or sorry, the hover from Pepper will be locked in. Is this enough for Team WE to break through that long range and set up fights if WE wants to take them?
For me, WE really does lack the firepower. If you look across the board, EDG are going to hit first because of the range, and they're going to hit harder at the same time. WE is almost relegated to playing a pick type of style with their globals against the EDG composition. If they just play straight up poke, it's like trying to win a battle when you're holding a pistol and they're holding an artillery cannon.
Yeah.
Like,
it's going to be real tough.
Yeah.
It's going to take a lot of bobbing and weaving.
I'm not sure WE's draft, it doesn't really fit their playstyle. They're going to have to be very aggressive. They're going to have to be very scrappy to find their advantage with their composition against EDG. EDG's comp is much easier to execute. They just group up as 5. They have the range advantage, and they're telling WE, hey, you be the one that picks the fights. We're not going to do it.
Finally going back to basics for Team EDG. If they do try to play that 5 stack, of course, we know iBoy will likely be the priority over the course of the game. Scout, the double-edged blade for EDG on that Vel'Koz in the mid lane, will be trying to keep his carry safe. But all eyes should be on Pepper on the opposite side. The replacement to Condi from the semifinal roster. Can he do enough on this Xin to upset the scaling, to separate EDG across the map and allow Team WE to pick up the kills and pick up their own snowball? Or will WE be relegated to sitting back and defending, absorbing this pressure?
If you're going to play for picks, you have to have an early game lead, because what you're looking for is map control to then go and find those picks. So Pepper's job is very, very hard. He actually needs to keep some of these losing lanes ahead, and then at the same time create enough space for the composition to actually work. I think the biggest matchup we're looking for is actually in the mid lane, because when you think about Rek'Sai and Vel'Koz, that's a CC combo that you can't even cleanse.
Really hurts.
It just kills you instantly. So he's going to have to hover around mid lane frequently, and he's going to have to stabilize the game from there.
Yeah, we'll absolutely see what Pepper decides to go for, as if he decides to protect Xie. Of course, we know 957 to be very safe in the top lane. Again, so very good at absorbing pressure. But as the teams load onto the Rift, you can see the fans are packed up in the arena as, again, two of the biggest organizations in esports are about to clash for the umpteenth time. And EDG, if they lose this, it is still possible for EDG to be eliminated from playoff contention, which would be a first for the organization.
Can you imagine Edward Gaming not being in the playoffs? What a world are we living in right now?
I don't know if it's one that I want to be a part of. It's really scary. This is the future. This is 2018. But as we load onto the Rift, it's WE taking on the betrayers of EDG. Time to hear from the crowd. Xi'an, the hometown crowd, gets to be just a little bit louder as Ben steps up for an early trade with Mako and iBoy. Not quite sure that he wanted that. But we will be seeing a topside start, red start from both Pepper and Clearlove.
It's not a trade that WE's bot lane can win, but they could look for a couple of Klepto procs. Unfortunately, they got no items and no gold out of that.
Just looking for some gold, looking for something to try to make that lane a little bit easier, a little bit earlier. And again, this is EDG at... You're pointing at the screen.
Yeah, I was actually really surprised by the choice of Varus. He's not actually going for the Comet build, the lethality and poke build. He's actually going for the on-hit build with lethal tempo. So this build is actually stronger in lane, but in terms of what they want to do in like sit up and siege, it's a bit weaker. So interesting decisions right there. They're probably trying to push their bot lane advantage even more.
I mean, perhaps just relying on the massive damage that Piercing Arrow can do later on. Of course, once you take that new W, the Activate Blight for big damage. Pepper actually just went buff to buff and is hanging out bottom side, as he will be taking this Scuttle Crab very early on. And I'm excited to see what Pepper does on this Xin Zhao. As we said, he's a lot more of an aggressive style jungler, stepping in, trying to clear out the vision, looking to get behind this Vel'Koz.
He definitely needs to be on the bottom side of the map early. Both of these lanes can be really easily influenced.
That's a flash towards Clearlove, but Clearlove is at the blue buff. The damage goes down. First blood, Pepper.
Great play by Pepper. They definitely did not expect the level 2 gank to come in from Pepper and at this angle. They knew he started on the top side, but they didn't think the gank would be coming from the bottom. You could see that Rek'Sai already exactly. Rek'Sai already set up the vision for Scout on the top half of the map, but that was a complete outsmarting coming out from Pepper.
Here we get a chance to see that again. Again, just Pepper using the sweeper very early on. Yeah, taking a look at the vision. It's all on that top side. Scout flashes away, but Clearlove is too far.
So just bending the expectations of EDG to their own advantage. Clearlove knew that the bottom side from WE did not leash. They started out in lane immediately. So the only place that Xin Zhao could have started was the top side. He put all of those vision there. He avoided the level 2 gank coming straight from red, but he didn't think about the possibility of Pepper playing from the bot side.
Yeah.
So very intelligent
with a level 1 sweeper start as well.
Yeah, I really like this. And we talked about the most important matchup on the map. It is that bot lane, because if Rek'Sai and the Vel'Koz can start a chain, there's no way you can move away from it. Not even Cleanse will save you from that gank.
Especially once iBoy gets level 6, gets that Chains of Corruption to long-range initiate, long-range setup for that. It's so very scary, as there's a massive CC setup from EDG if they're able to play around it, but already we're starting to see an advantage for Team WE with that first blood, setting up Xie for success on the rise, trying to scale him up just a little bit faster. And even the defensive vision from WE to keep an eye on Clearlove very early on as he's recalling in vision. Now, Pepper is going to get a chance to sneak in and clear out this ward from EDG, so still contesting this bottom side, but already WE playing around EDG's composition very early on. His teleport's coming in. Pepper might be looking for a follow-up. No flash for Scout. He's back against the wall. Xie walks up, gets knocked up. That's the snare and the cleanse. A double kill over to Pepper as he finds himself at 2-0.
And that really stemmed out of Rek'Sai being spotted in the bot side. They knew that there was no chance for a counter gank in the mid lane, and they were willing to go all in onto the Vel'Koz pick. So far, it's not looking so hot for EDG. If Ryze is able to get out of that lane, level 6, he can get that Realm Warp, and he can start making those picks all across the map like we were talking about.
I mean, already you can see EDG scrambling to put that defensive vision back up. iBoy doesn't get to push this wave in because Mako was setting up a ward behind the red buff. This is just WE playing a slightly more aggressive game off the back of Pepper and finding themselves an early advantage because of it. And this is the playstyle that Condi actually started to popularize in 2017 summer, playing a much faster, aggressive early game. And it was that playstyle that helped WE go into playoffs and go to the world stage, where they went all the way to semifinals.
But he hasn't been doing it in 2018, and Pepper is the one to step up and hold that mantle high. He is the more aggressive jungler out of these two, and I'm not really surprised to see him on something that is a Xin Zhao, because Xin Zhao is a champion that you win early or you die young. So you have to snowball on this pick. There's no other option. And he's been doing a very good job on it. Both of those plays coming off of vision as well. They're not just purely mechanical, hot-blooded plays. They're very calculated.
And he's still just monitoring around this bottom side river as Pepper is doing his best River Shen impression by just racing around. He's even taking water walking to make sure that if he ever sees an opportunity that he'll be able to sneak in. That said, this wave is pushing away from Scout, and Pepper is still nearby.
And here's the big question. How does Clearlove 7 react to a lane that is actually losing? I'm sorry, he dropped the 7. Never mind.
Yeah.
But how does Clearlove play around a losing lane? Because this is something that a lot of people actually criticize him for not doing very well. Like, a lot of times he actually leaves the losing lane alone. And if you look at the vision situation for WE, it's actually very hard to wrestle that back. They have double control wards on either side of this river. They're not giving Scout any rest.
Yeah, we do see Pepper actually clearing out his topside jungle as he's trying to race towards level 6 to catch up with Clearlove, who has been hard farming, as you said, not really trying to save the lane. And that means Scout will get a chance to push the wave in and deny some of that vision back away from Xie, but Pepper might be able to head on top as 957 clears out this ward, and Ray gets pushed out of lane by 957, who is starting to open up a mild CS advantage up here.
Should come to no one's surprise, Shen does win out on the matchup early. And you can see that WE is playing around their strong top side, trying to keep their solo lanes alive while leaving their bot side, which was already expected to lose from draft, kind of on their own.
Now this is actually just a good play from EDG. They're sweeping out all the vision in the river, stepping up to find the blue buff as it spawns, because Pepper, knowing he might be going for a gank, he's going top. Ooh, the Shadow Dash misses the taunt. Rupture will be sidestepped.
Level
Ray
6 for
has
Pepper.
flash. That's the dash. Pepper chases with the red buff. One more for the knockup. 957 gets it. 3-0 off the back of Pepper.
And that came out of a mixed execution from WE. It doesn't matter, however.
The Tectonic Disruption misses, but the damage Stand United from 957 keeps Xie safe. In one place, it's Clearlove trying to counter, trying to get back onto the board, but WE just deny it.
And Scout had to burn his flash for that. He's already in a very precarious situation where the enemy jungler is clearly ahead in terms of itemization, and now he doesn't have the flash to save himself if Pepper comes in again. How Clearlove and Scout are going to play this laning phase out is of utmost importance if they want to stay close in this game.
Yeah. I mean, Stopwatch is finished for Scout, and he's finally got his cleanse back. Uh-oh. Mako gets caught by the Winter's Bite. He's got Flash and Cleanse. True Shot Barrage. Sidestepped by iBoy as Ben eats the Chains of Corruption. A late Flash gets him out of here, but there's Pepper. He smells blood.
There's no flash on
down
iBoy.
Here. That's the Flash. He's got the red buff. Looking for Mako. Is the Devourer there? That's going to be a stun. Mako cleanses, shields himself, walks under the turret. They're going to try to dive this. Stopwatch. But Mystic is ready. That's the Pierce and the Mystic shot. They dive for the kill. Oh no, the Essence Flux isn't enough. Triumph gives iBoy enough to survive and puts EDG on the board.
Massive outplay and a big shutdown coming in for iBoy. It started out so bad for EDG. They had to use the Devour early. They had to walk back. They had to burn their flashes first. But in the end, Greed got the better of WE. They go for a tower dive when it's already past 8 minutes. Stopwatch saves everyone.
Well, at least it saves iBoy. Couldn't save Mako there. I know we do have a tendency to forget the supports when talking about all these spectacular carries, but Mako was able to get the outplay for so long, and it all starts from WE just being greedy.
Yeah, the red buff on Pepper, he does get the auto attack on iBoy. It looks like a clean kill coming out, but this is 8.14. Devoured does not have that 20-second ridiculous cooldown, so Mako is able to devour twice in this fight. The Triumph saves iBoy from going down.
As the red buff is ticking down from Pepper's attack as well.
Yeah, it was the red buff and the Skirmisher's Smite, so it was a very close scenario.
So close. That would have been a 1-5 versus a 2-4, but hey, that does get iBoy on the board. He's 2-0 as we mentioned, and as that big carry, that big poke later on, he's got his first item completed, which does have lifesteal. So iBoy, even if he takes bad trades against Mystic, will have sustain and some safety in that lane. So already things looking a little bit better for the bottom lane of EDG, though that being said, that was the first time we saw Pepper try to upset that.
Yeah, this is the big difference between the itemization between the lethality and the Blade of the Ruined King. You have so much more sustain to actually stay and just punish the lane over and over again.
Also getting that slow as well if you're able to catch up. Scout uses the Tectonic Disruption. EDG bring 4 members, and through that harass and damage, they're able to break down that turret. So you can still see EDG middle of the pack in towers early on at 2.11 towers at 20 minutes, but this does unlock iBoy and enables so much more movement around the map for EDG if that's what they want to try to do.
What I'm really looking at is the 61.1% first tower rate. EDG's bot lane is doing fine. If you look at their 6-game losing streak, you probably think, this is a team that doesn't have a good early game. That's not the case with EDG. They're actually winning all the way up to 15 minutes, and they're winning a lot in the bottom lane still. However, it's past that has been the real test. EDG right now, when they set up sieges, we've seen so many scenarios where they overstep and the enemy team comes, outflanks them, and absolutely destroys them. So that's the next big test for EDG and iBoy. Keep your composure, don't play cocky when you're setting up sieges, and try to grow your gold lead.
It's that red zone, that 20 to 25, 28-minute mark for EDG that we really have to worry about. And that's still 8 minutes away. So we do have a lane swap out of EDG to try to get more gold funneled into that Varus, into iBoy. And a late recall from Mystic and Ben will push a wave in bottom and deny some CS to Ray, but that does mean iBoy gets top first and can push up to the tier 1. But Mystic and Ben are on their way to try to upset that. You already mentioned the strong top lane from 957 that Pepper has been playing to. He's back on this side of the map, but this time it's not Ray he has to worry about. It's a flashless Mako and iBoy that Pepper could set his sights on. But already, EDG, they seem to be on top of that, setting up some vision to defend this top half of the map.
Yeah, the next big fight should really happen at the second Infernal Drake. We're already talking about EDG outgunning WE. WE have to fight for second Infernal. It doesn't matter what situation their bot lane actually is. I suspect Mystic will still be behind in terms of itemization for quite a while to be, but that's the big fight that they have to flip the series, or I don't see this game going in their favor.
Now you just saw Condi probing for an entrance into that lane as Clearlove tries to get a gank onto Xie. No flash used as Xie just walks it off and starts trying to use that amazing Rise wave clear to push in wave after wave to keep Scout locked down. But Pepper's still hanging out on that top side of the map, and I think Clearlove might know as he's turning onto the Rift Herald, but Pepper sets his sight onto the gank instead. That's True Shot Barrage, knockup. Remember, iBoy, no flash. Devour picks him up, and 957 shows up. No teleport for Ray means no chance for this bottom lane. They're doing some damage as Mystic gets the kill. Finally, we get the teleport as even Xie is trying to get in there. Scout joins in. He's got the laser ready, but Mako decides to sacrifice himself so that his carries can live. Realm Warp on the far side puts Pepper in, but he decides to back away as he doesn't want to go 1v1 against that Vel'Koz. That's another 2 kills for WE.
That play was too simple coming out from WE's side. EDG getting cocky once more. They don't estimate how long it takes for Moby Boots Zinzao to actually be in position.
Did they get in through the vision? Flash knockup. They found Xie. He's over the wall. That's the laser, but the stun is ready, and they get it. They deny the damage. Rek'Sai chases down, and Xie goes forward. Ray has joined the fight. A late teleport from 957. No, it's actually Mystic who's teleporting in. He cancels to force the disengage as EDG back it up. Ooh. They lash in, barely getting under the vision, but that was a bit of a reckless move.
That was a very dangerous play because they were already lacking 2 members and they were trying to get something back onto the map. It could almost go wrong, but fortunately for EDG, Ray was already in position to help out the fight.
Even 957 using his teleport to deny a counter push from EDG as WE are respecting the push that EDG can set up. True Shot Barrage is about to come up for Mystic. Let's see if he decides to use it top if he sees iBoy. No, just lets the wave crash in to keep that turret alive. And again, this has been EDG's early game strategy. Take bottom tier 1, pick iBoy and Mako up, send them either top or mid, depending on which has better push advantage, break down that next tier 1, and then finally stack as 5 to break down the last one.
Exactly.
EDG, they've already had a wrench thrown in that plans by WE, disrupting the flow of pushing back at the top tier 1, the second turret.
I want to see how EDG tries to ward this out, because now they should truly understand that that ward in River is not enough.
It does nothing, yeah.
It does nothing against the Moby Boots Zinzao. So the question for them is, how do they actually set up their vision so that this strong bot lane can continue to siege and continue to push? That's really going to require Clearlove to go up top and try to help them set that up. They need some wards inside the actual jungle.
I mean, you can see how safe WE are because, again, there's so much CC for a pick. Same from the other side of EDG. They cannot move in one person into the jungle like Clearlove, like Mako, to start setting up some vision. And that's where we start to see WE taking control of their topside jungle and starting to move it back into the river.
I really like what EDG is doing here. They realize that pushing top lane is far too risky, so now they're moving all of their members down. They're forcing in mid lane and also putting up a fork at Infernal. We just said that if both Infernals go to EDG, it's horrible news.
Pepper goes in, but doesn't get the smite as Pepper smites early. Uses the Crescent Slash, but Mako is split and sideways. Ben gets knocked up. He's absorbing a lot. Pepper tries to go forward. Mako with the shield. Knock up onto 2, but the laser over the wall finds a double kill. The Death Star fires, and WE are doing their best Alderaan impression right now as they're forced to turn and run.
I hate to scream it, but this is sunken cost fallacy.
Oh, look at the damage. Mystic.
He's already been researched. Just one more tick for any ability on Scout.
Ooh, Mako playing with some damage there.
I don't really understand W's engage right there. I understood that, you know, they just lost Infernal. They were really mad about it.
Yeah.
They want to get something back. But in terms of that positioning, there's no real way they would come out ahead of that fight because you had Cho'Gath, Tom Kench, and Rek'Sai in the river, and then the two main carries, Varus and Vel'Koz, on a rift, like on top of a hill firing down. Like that was the perfect positioning that EDG could have asked for, and W kind of just sunk their...
like you said, sunk cost fallacy for Team
They
WE.
lost their minds.
And like the same thing that happens in gambling with the sunk cost fallacy is perhaps they feel that they have to take the fight. They have these one-item completions, and they're looking at their record. As again, you already said it, just a laser over the wall from iBoy and Scout to do so much damage while all the tanks set up in the front.
WE's best move right there was to force EDG on the bottom side of the map and give themselves a clear way to Herald and probably even put some pressure on mid lane. But they went for this weird play where EDG was in perfect positioning, and I just have to say it's such a missed window for them. Kind of losing their cool.
Yeah. I mean, they haven't exactly had a lot of cool this split, to be fair. As, again, this is a team that is 3-12 in the standings. They are fighting just to get into playoffs.
And they
right
could still
now.
do it.
They still can.
That's
if
the amazing
they calm
thing.
down, if they cool off and play to their compositions and start taking wins. Because EDG, this is an all-time low. If WE can take a win here, it will be a huge momentum swing for this roster at the bottom of the standings.
The
to
Western
start moving
Conference is absolutely nuts. You could have a 20% win rate like WE have right now, but if you win all your games, you could still be in playoffs.
You could eliminate Edward Gaming.
Yeah, and this is because of cross-conference. None of the teams from the West have actually done well in the cross-conference. So the scorelines are all pretty bad, and W actually still have a chance. There's a lot on the table in this series.
Here's the play. It's actually EDG getting perhaps a bit desperate to break down the tier 1. We talked about the strategy of taking a second turret, either top or mid, then bringing 5 stack to the last turret to break it down. This time, they don't even wait for the top tier 1 as WE are able to stall it out. And EDG look to move WE around the map.
And just look at how different EDG is playing the bot lane. They're not trying to split push the tower. They're not trying to push then roam. They're roaming first and only catching the waves. And that just puts so much pressure off of their shot calling. I feel like EDG's shot calling when they were forcing plays in the bot side have been very, very suspect. Putting 2 Korean players that probably don't speak the most fluent of Chinese in the same lane together and asking them to respond to a potential Baron threat is just a recipe for disaster for EDG. So I really like this lane setup. They're taking things slow. They're taking it on the second foot, but it's, you know, they're letting WE make the first move, but it's fine.
For now, though, we do see EDG back up against that turret. Ben, he's just waiting to put up the door. Chains of Corruption on the Mystic. Look at the laser. Stand united. Mystic is going to survive. Knock up as Pepper comes in from behind. Mako scoops him up and spits him back out as even 957 looks to step forward.
Great reaction coming out from Mako. If that knock-up did hit Vel'Koz back into the team of WE, he was dead for sure.
Oh, yeah. And then they just continue to push as WE are forced to give up the turret. That's the power of the long-range composition. As you said during pick and ban, EDG, whenever they stack up against WE, EDG are the ones who hit first. They're the ones who are able to get that initial reaction and then follow up, see how the fight is going. Do we want to go further forward or do we just want to pull it back? And that choice has enabled EDG to take the mid-tier 1.
And this is what has been missing from EDG's composition during their losing streak. Their format has just not been able to force anything on the map. A lot of times it does come down to the compositions that they pick for themselves, but with a poke comp, they don't need a force bot. They can force mid with a 4-man, and that really eliminates a lot of the mistakes that EDG are prone to.
What's this you're telling me? EDG have suspect draft? No, never. I've never seen that happen.
So our discussion with FLICKR, you remember that set that we casted between IG and EDG?
Yeah.
And FLICKR, you know, kept on saying EDG had better players across the board, and at the end is like, why are they losing then?
Draft.
Exactly.
That's themselves into a hole.
That's the big question about EDG. Like, their bot lane plays have definitely not been the sole reason that they're losing these games. There's a lot of reasons going on with EDG. Part of it definitely is draft. In fact, if you look at their losing streak, a lot of the times you think to yourself, if EDG just had the enemy team's draft, they would have won.
You see that so often.
It's so easy to execute. It's so much easier to execute.
They do these wacky things where they pick the bottom lane, they pick the jungle, next round goes through, it's like, okay,
blind.
Now they're going to pick Orianna, they're going to pick themselves a long range, keep the flex open, not that they're going to do it, and try to keep the enemy team on their toes, and then they pick something wacky like Kindred, and you're like, wait, what? Why? And then they give over the Orianna and lose the composition. It's just weird.
EDG, my main problem with their drafts is that they put themselves on clocks way too often.
They do.
They do pick, they blind pick, they're a blue side heavy team, they blind pick, and then they say we have to get tempo with our blind picks, which is such an arrogant draft strategy. You're not supposed to get tempo if you're being counterpicked.
Yeah.
That's not supposed to happen like that. But EDG do it anyway. They put themselves on a clock, and it's 8.14. Average game time is up by 3 minutes. So putting yourself on a clock is not the best idea in this meta.
Ooh. Mystic taking some damage as EDG seems like they're now happy to dictate the pace of the game. Again, this is as much as we're harassing EDG by dissecting their bad play. Yeah, because when we see play like this, where they play that control, where they pull the enemy team around like a puppet dancing on a string and just take dragon after dragon after dragon, turret after turret after turret, it's something beautiful to watch. But then when we see them split push and give up a Baron, it's like, wait, I thought you were the puppeteer.
Exactly. You know, EDG sometimes they just collectively lose their minds. I feel like they really lost the title of the best shot calling team in the LPL this split.
Yeah.
With that 6-game losing streak.
Who'd
They
you
always
give it to?
were the best. To be honest, I actually
Rogue Warriors?
really like TOP.
Really?
I really like TOP.
Okay.
So one of the things I found out about TOP when I was doing my stat studies about like why EDG was losing was that TOP actually have 100% win rate on the team fights they choose before 20 minutes. That's insanely high. I've been saying it the entire split that they're probably one of the best setup teams to watch. The way they conduct their fights are always very logical, but I didn't expect the stats to be that one-sided. They're actually insane. So I just want to say the 100% is not for the entire split,
Yeah.
but it is of the duration that EDG's lose streak.
I mean, that being said, TOP is actually the most recent team that took a win off of Edward
Exactly.
Gaming earlier this week, so perhaps there is something, a little bit of truth to that, as now WE are trying to set up a quick push into this mid-tier turret. We're 23 minutes into the game, going on 24. This is the depth of the red zone. This is where EDG have been in their losing streak for their past 6 games.
But for me, it's WE's job to actually try and do something right now. They're going into the 1-3-1. They're trying to split the map up. Remember, if it's just an artillery battle, 100% EDG will win.
Yeah.
So WE need to try to find picks. And the way you get to picks is you get split pushing first. So the two key matchups we're looking at is Ryze in the top lane and then Shen in the bottom lane. We see 957 is still able to handle Ray quite easily. He's walking up to him directly, trying to put a little bit of damage on him.
Yeah.
But they need to continue this type of play and then split EDG up.
But then this is where we look at EDG on the other side. If they want to not lose this game in the red zone right here, they need to not send either Scout or Clearlove bottom to try to upset that split push, as that's the Chains of Corruption. Ben still gets the door up in time.
So I think a very easy fix for EDG right now is that they actually have a lot of engage potential on the Braum in the mid lane. So what they could look to do is to just do what they just
For
did.
Team
like,
WE.
Use the ult for the EDG. EDG have a lot of engage against the Braum.
Oh, okay. On the Braum, not
Braum.
using the Braum. I see. I
Yeah,
see.
not using the Braum. So they could do what they just did, which was like just feign an ultimate. It comes up every minute or so. So one of these times W is going to be caught in mid.
And this could be it. Flash is ready for Ben. Mystic uses his own flash along with Ben. Ray
Double
hits the
knockup.
Rupture on the 2. 957, but a big 4-man knockup. They're still able to destroy Pepper as 957 gets canceled out of his ultimate as Pepper just died. And WE, like you said, they step up just a little bit too far.
Yeah.
They respect the rolling steamroller of EDG, and they lose a member. They're jungler.
I think W got a little bit too complacent. The Chains of Corruptions were already down for iBoy, so they thought they could step up. But then Ray came in from the side. 957 thought he could keep up with Stand United. Wasn't the case, and they lost that fight.
Now, we're still seeing EDG be respectful here. They're even in gold, but they know that Pepper is still dead, so they do want to not take any chances and throw the Baron. Because again, though it is Pepper and not Kongi, son of Baron, there still is a chance for any stray attack, any stray shot to come in. And WE, they return to the scene of the crime. They are absolutely belligerent on this mid-tier 1 right now.
And that's the right call, because EDG, they are a very ultimate-focused team. If Vel'Koz doesn't have the, doesn't have the ultimate up and iBoy doesn't have his Chains of Corruption, then you should step up. You should play very aggressively right there. It's the times when they have their ultimates, then I feel like W needs to play incredibly safe with their 1-3-1. Their 1-3-1 is not a particularly flexible 1-3-1.
Yeah.
Xin Zhao and Braum, These guys die
not so
pretty
great
easily.
at defending an Ezreal
Yeah.
against the Vel'Koz laser. I mean, we saw what one research stack did in that last fight.
They don't even need to get the Ezreal. They just need to kill 2 people. They kill the Braum, kill the Zins out,
fair.
instantly do Baron. So that's the game plan for EDG. While W on their side, they still have to play the split focus kind of team fight.
And look at how they've adapted that focus now, as 957 doesn't have teleport. He used it in the last fight along with Stand United. Now he's the one pushing top, and Xie is split pushing bottom. There is no answer yet because Ray used to teleport in the fight and he's grouped up with his team, but Team EDG are just maneuvering on the vision. Xie, you should be backing, my dude. Oh boy. Looks like EDG, actually they assume that he's backing, and WE, they're gonna make a play on the other side of the map. Scout just walks it off though. All right, this is getting a little bit tense of a chess match. We've had some rooks traded, a bishop has gone down, but EDG are still sitting on this very powerful queen stack. They just group up and bowl over WE if they're able to find an opening. Meanwhile, WE, they're trying to pick it apart through the use of their knights, opening up flanks, opening up positions for Mystic and Xie to get in.
This is a very interesting scenario because they're trying to play Ryze into the Cho'Gath on WE's side. They're saying when it comes to the super late game, Ryze is going to power up and we're still going to have the split push advantage into the bot lane. I think that's one of the big things that W is actually waiting on. Like, the matchup doesn't really change between Vel'Koz and Ryze the later it goes. Vel'Koz is always going to play defensive, but it could get better for Ryze versus the Cho'Gath as the game goes later. And if they can get that split push edge, say 10 minutes on, say that lead grows, then potentially they could have that catch that we're looking for.
Yeah.
We've been waiting the entire game, actually, for W to make that thing happen. But, you know, overall, I don't really see W having a strong scaling advantage. So it's about how they play the map to find their opportunities and not just waiting it out.
Well, it is only about 1,300 gold for Xie to finish off the Void Staff, but the Infernal Dragon has already spawned. Your voice says it all. Triple Infernal to EDG, and WE can do nothing but watch it go down. Now, there's 12 seconds on the timer before the next one goes down, and WE turn onto the Baron, the 4-man Realm Warp. 957 didn't get in, and they're already going halfway through its health. You can see Ben stepping into the river to zone away and pull it back, but here comes iBoy. Here comes Mako. They're split from their team. Chains of Corruption onto Pepper. They're trying to kill the jungler, but he uses the Crescent Slash and gets the Baron. Now WE, they don't want this fight right now because the 5 stack is almost there. Scout is grouped up. Piercing Arrow onto 957, and EDG. We have to extend the red zone, Clement. It's not to 25 minutes, it's not to 28, it's to 29.
I'm going to have a very controversial opinion, but I actually feel like that's fine for EDG.
Giving up the Baron?
Yeah, well, it's not great. It's not great. So I think the main problem they had was that Scout actually went back to base. He didn't travel with the rest of the team to actually arrive there on spot, so there was not a lot of real chance that EDG could have taken that Baron. They could have scared WE, but WE were like they didn't fall for the bluff. They basically called the bluff. But overall, if you have like triple Infernal, you're able to weather this storm. It's still kind of fine.
Especially on a massive poke composition. They've even got the Ocean Dragon supplement. And look at the final Elemental Dragon. Another Ocean. That's more mana, that's more abilities, that's more harass.
What we really need to look at is how much can W actually get in terms of towers. Can they crack the mid and bot side? I think the bot side right now is actually more important than the mid tower. In a 1-3-1 scenario, if you can push deep with one of your side laners, a lot of times it's more beneficial than even taking the mid lane tower. So if they're able to out-split push the bot lane, collapse those 2 towers, say in the bot side, then I would say this Baron is, you know, could have swung the game to WE's side. But overall, I think Triple Infernal is probably still a safer spot for EDG.
Well, the waves are starting to crash in as Piercing Arrow will start breaking down these minions. WE, they're clearing out the vision. They're trying to use that 1-3-1, but Xie needs to be so careful as 957 brings the minion wave under the turret. He doesn't have a Bomby Cinder, but he's still not stepping up to this turret. He just has to respect the potential Abyssal Voyage collapse from EDG. Finally, Mystic steps up. Clear Love is over the wall, but the turret has gone down. And Xie still split pushing top, so that's 1 turret down. Now WE looking for turret number 2 as Ray is forced to back away, even though he has clear vision of what WE are doing. 957 still can't break it down.
Yeah, I actually think W should rotate towards the bot lane. They can see the blue being taken right now, so if they go bot, they're going to have a 2 extra man advantage there. I actually feel like Just, you take all the towers in the bot side, make sure that Shen can push in very, very deep against Ray, and that way you just split up EDG's composition, and they don't have that big artillery comp anymore when they're split into like a 2-3 or something.
It is so scary to try to react to that. There's the recall. Finally, Pepper shows up, and Ray is forced to back away. The tier 1 finally broken 3 turrets to 2. It's a 3,000 gold advantage for Team WE, exactly as we predicted. But it's EDG choosing this by taking the triple Infernal, as you said, and only giving up exactly what they need to power up their 5v5.
I think, I would like to believe, I should say, that EDG understood that they were trading objectives.
Yeah.
I would like to think that, but at the same time, I'm not exactly sure. It could be a miscalculation on that part. Maybe Scout should have went over towards the Baron pit. I think if they weather the storm and they don't give up another tower, like the Infernal for Baron trade would still be okay. But the point that EDG should ask themselves is, I don't actually think they needed to trade. That's the big thing. I don't actually think the trade needed to happen. They could have taken the Infernal while still, keeping pressure on the Baron, or maybe
on the top side of the map.
Yeah, or maybe like
protecting
it a little bit better.
It was WE's chance to open up the map. They took it and they succeeded. Now they've got the 1-3-1. They've got all 3 outers down and controlled, which means WE can control their side lanes, which makes them a little bit safer with the 3 stack in the middle. As long as Mystic doesn't step up and eat a random piece of harass flying out of the darkness, his Scout is absolutely massive at 3 items. That said, Mystic is at 4.5 items. Ooh. He's got double tier, and both of them are fully stacked up, and he's got that last Whisper on the way. iBoy on the other side, he's at 4 items, but he did get a bit of a discount build with that Wit's End. So the on-hit style, will it be enough if WE are able to keep their tanks alive and allow Mystic to free fire from the back?
If the Varus is going for a build that's much stronger in the late game compared to the lethality build, will allow him to kind of melt the front line coming out from WE's team right here. The Shen, the Xin Zhao do take a lot of damage from just the on-hit, especially Xin Zhao. He has no armor whatsoever, so that Blade of the Ruin King is actually going to melt him.
Yeah. Even if the Sterix does pop, it's not going to do anything because it's % max health. Real big damage. Taking a look at the gold, 14,500, about 1,100 gold lead for Mystic in the mid lane. It's still pretty even. In the jungle, it's about another 1,000 gold for Pepper off of those early kills. And in the top lane, we are seeing 957 start to open up a gold advantage as well. But the next dragon is up in 20 seconds. EDG, they have been controlling it so dominantly.
The bottom line is that WE still do not want to fight a 5v5 versus EDG. That's not going to be a good scenario for them. But for EDG's side, the question is, how do you then force the big fight?
Yeah.
So for me, what EDG should try to do is they should try to time their groupings with an objective. That way they can try to force WE to come out like they're doing right now, say, hey, we're going to take 5 Drakes and it's going to be really bad for you come Elder Drake. This is a 35-minute game plan, basically.
Well, at this point, 42 minutes.
Yep.
If they take that dragon right away, the blue trinket was actually used to spot out that EDG weren't taking it. Like you said, they were baiting it, but they catch Ray in rotation and he's making his way to the turret. Look at the shred. That's a stopwatch used. Mako is standing by with the Devour. Mystic still getting some good damage, but the snare means Mako can't get it, and they kill Mako before he can save his carry. That's the Chains of Corruption, and Mystic is still firing over the wall as 957 brings in a wave, and Ray is forced to back for help.
That was careless from Ray. He just walked into 2 people and then still continued on his pathing, trying to round the corner.
Oh, there's no vision. That's a teleport as Ray is trying to get back as quick as possible. Tectonic Disruption misses. Ben gets caught by the Shadow Dash. That's the knockup, disrupting the laser. Clear Love goes golden, but he's forced to reset it. iBoy firing from the back, but WE are still hammering onto this tier 2.
The bad series of events from EDG, like a lot of mis-execution. They could have landed more knockups right there. They actually missed out on the Rek'Sai knockup and the Vel'Koz knockup at the same time. Weren't able to equalize the situation, and W get away scot-free from engaging in a supposedly bad team fight versus EDG.
And most importantly, I think, is that now the Baron has respawned throughout all of that entire duration. EDG spent so much time setting around the Ocean Dragon that all of their vision has faded, and they're forced to move in and step up, start clearing this out. This gives a chance for WE to back, 6 items on Mystic, 3 items on Xie as he looks to be building a Rabadon's Death Cap next. It's a very expensive completion, but they've already got that Mystic carrying the baton, ready to pass it back to Xie if the game goes on any later.
Here's the big chance for both teams. EDG can finally force WE into the big 5v5 that they're waiting for. What they're thinking about is the fight that we saw Kingzone pull up against RNG. You set up around Baron, look at all those question marks going in, you have them come in, and Vel'Koz will decimate an enemy team if they have to walk into him. But on WE's side, I also feel like they're probably feeling relatively confident right now. I don't see how Mystic dies in a team fight without a major mistake.
Yeah.
So it could also be a scenario where WE actually just cracked the entire game open.
Oh, I thought that was an attack on the Baron.
Yeah.
But it was just the blue trinket as Clearlove tries to step up. All the vision EDG had set up has been swept out, and control of the river goes back to Team WE. 957 is split pushing. Ray without teleport is forced to group up. Mystic is going to try and step back. That's the Righteous Glory from Ray used. Doesn't find anyone, and Mystic is still just, look at the damage that he's doing with just the Mystic shots. Whittling through their health. The vision is slowly being denied as EDG snowball their way forward. The Protoss Deathball working it down, but 957 still on the tier 2 bottom.
And here's the big difference we talked about with EDG's compositions when they have a tank. It's much easier to go through these bushes and set up when you have someone taking all the damage in the front. They're goading WE to come into this 5v5.
Arms open, Pepper steps forward, that's the Shadow Dash. Mystic firing from the side. Ben soaks some hits as 957 stands in the front. Redemption knockup, laser onto 3. Pepper and Mystic back it up. Pepper survives, and Mystic steps forward. That's the GA popped from Clearlove. His team is trying to protect him as Ben steps up. The disruption misses. This is an elaborate dance. Everyone is tiptoeing on the edge of the knife that is this game, but Pepper is somehow bottom. He's working on a tier 2 split pushing. It's 4 members of WE defending this, and EDG, they have to decide the Abyssal Voyage to get Mako there. And finally, Pepper will be caught as that's flash from Mako, but the tier 2 is already dead, and WE now claim control over the pit.
Yeah, they do have the Ocean Drake as well, so they could just look to go straight back to Baron, bait WE in once more.
Now that's recall completed for 957. He's got the teleport to head right back in. Mystic just relying on that raw health. Award spots him behind the pit, but with the smite gone, it's all up to EDG. They've even got the feast ready for Ray. Here comes Xie. Teleport coming in from 957. This time it's 4 versus 5. The stakes have risen. True Shot Barrage gets a lot of damage. Baron picked up by Clearlove at 200. Now WE, they're going to look for the fight. The flash Shadow Dash onto 3. Mystic is firing as Scouts on the side. They've already got 1 as 957 goes down. Xie eats the laser. A flashback, and WE are running for their lives, but Mystic is popping off with Xie. He goes golden. Mystic tries to step up. He gets the cleanse to snare Xie with a triple kill. He catches Ray. I cannot believe it. The quadra kill is going to be chased down as finally he'll go down on the far side. And WE, they are actually winning this fight 4 versus 5. Xie puts on the performance of his life, and the surrender flag out of Mystic as he immediately teleports to the tier 2.
WE still have 3 people. They're looking to end this game right now, but I don't think they could do it. There's only 26 seconds on that respawn timer for iBoy, so he should be up and able to defend this point. And that's the thing that we're talking about before this fight even happened. Yes, EDG liked the 5v5, but Mystic could also like it because there's not enough hard engage to pin him down.
As you said,
late game, double tier Mystic will rip through the entire team and nobody could touch him. I felt like EDG needed to back out of that fight once they got the Baron.
And that was the type of play that we wanted to see from WE. Group up as 5, protect your carries of Mystic. This is the style that's been missing from them all split. They're playing slow, they're playing patient, they're playing around their win conditions of Mystic and Xie. And now they're finally back in the lead in this game as EDG, they had a window of power, but it gets taken away from them off of Mystic and Xie with some of the fanciest footwork you'll see this side of the Atlantic.
You can see right now, EDG should be trying to make their way outside of the pit, but they're so afraid of taking damage from Mystic. There's no one up to tank the damage anymore, and Ray tries to back at the end of the pit. It's not going to work, even with that empowered recall in the 4 seconds there. Mystic just able to chase everyone down. Massive damage with the double tier at this point.
The fight even going so long that Ben gets the second cooldown on his ultimate. Mystic steps up to clear it out from him. Oh boy, WE. They are now in the lead. The Baron timer's on your screen, but nobody from EDG have it. The inhibitor is down in the mid lane, which is pushing in, And that's a Spellbinders. That is a 6-item rise now.
You remember the thing about the Elder Drake still being true?
A win condition? Yeah, I mean,
EDG
WWE
still
took the
have
ocean
one
off
more
the back.
chance.
Yeah.
EDG still have that chance for the big 5v5, but this time they need to think of an exit plan because Mystic will actually chase everyone down and just kill them. I think EDG's problem is the Baron play was too late for them.
Yeah.
If
they baited themselves in.
Yeah, if it was much earlier, like if they could set up on the first Baron rather than giving it to WE, then I feel like this power spike for Ezreal would not exist, and they wouldn't have to worry about like the exit plan after you take a Baron. But because of that Baron trade, Mystic was able to farm up, get that super late game build. He probably does have Gathering Storm as well.
Yeah.
And now it's a real trouble for EDG because they just don't have enough lockdown.
This is a real big Team WE right now. As they're 7,500 gold ahead, we're getting to the point where gold doesn't matter. It's down to execution, it's down to outplays. And Team WE are taking it to Edward Gaming. 3-12 against the winningest team in LPL history. And this Team WE is showing us where the weaknesses for EDG lie. Around the Baron, around these rotations. And of course, this is just an appetizer. This isn't even our match of the week. That's tomorrow as IG take on RNG.
Can you imagine that these two teams aren't really in our top 4 anymore?
Yeah.
Just the names. Well, here comes somebody.
Shie steps up. He split from his team. He's got the flash ready, but eats the disruption. A massive shield. Doesn't use the flash just yet and gets destroyed by Ray and Scout. Oh no, it's all falling apart for Team WE as they disrespect the vision and they get punished. Now Pepper trying to keep Mystic alive as Clearlove chases forward. 957 still split pushing. Doesn't have himself the true shot barrage as Clearlove. He had the GA. He was fine.
He was fine. But it was still a very close situation. You can see 957 already used his Stand United, but still couldn't save the Rise, popping his face into the brush. Nobody expects the giant T-Rex to be hiding there.
No.
Yeah. Really good bait coming out from Ray. They read WE's play, saw the Rise was pushing down the bot lane, anticipated him to walk around that corner.
But is that what it takes for EDG right now? To have a hard read on WE and bait them into a situation?
Well, hey, look, WE have to finish the game some way, and that's the last standing tower.
That's fair, that's fair.
So they're going to go there. They're going to go there. It's just a question of where they should go there, and I think for WE, they shouldn't be that risky. Like, walking inside EDG's jungle with this composition against a Rek'Sai with Sonar.
With so little vision.
That feels really bad. I mean, I would just straight walk up to them, and you can disengage with Xin Zhao. You know, you have the poke coming out from Mystic. That might be a better solution at this point.
Very well could be. Though that it is, again, against that one Ocean Dragon that Team EDG have, so perhaps relying on that. And we can see Ray, he's at 5 items, building towards what I presume to be the Warmogs, so he can take these extended engages with even more of that massive health pool. But look at the clocks on the upper left. Baron is in 90 seconds. It's a minute 45 till that Elder Dragon. WE are about to be put in a really, really difficult choice. Pepper is trying to set up vision this time, but EDG are just aggressively denying it to hold on to that tier 2 bottom. And there's the Gathering Storm you were talking about. iBoy's holding on to it. We'll have to see if Mystic is doing the same because they're still just fighting over this vision. Ray steps up. Elder Dragon's in 80 seconds. A 2-man rupture. A slow.
Bit of damage done as well. I really don't think W should be trying to push vision this deep. If a fight does break out here, look at Vel'Koz over the wall. That's such a good positioning for him. You're never going to reach him in time.
So far back.
And his ultimate is actually 1400 range.
It's real long.
It's really, really long. So I really would not like W to hang on to there. Just drop your wards and go. This is great read coming out from Ray. Knew that Shia was coming around the corner. Shia sees the dinosaur, the T-Rex getting out of the holding pen. It's like, ah!
I think Shia panicked a little bit. He was on the side of the tectonic rupture, but still used the early Zanyas to try and survive it. And then it's just the chase down as WE escape in the end. We need to get back to the game. Baron and Elder Dragon are spawning.
They should be up by now, actually.
Yes, Clearlove survives. We see. Let's see those buffs. Let's see those buffs!
And then Baron's taken!
Exactly!
No, it shouldn't happen. I trust our observers. No!
Baron is taken!
No.
Okay.
It's just up, it's just up. Oh my god.
EDG are on the pin immediately. WE's in the back. That's the Realm Warp. As Pepper gets carried back in with 957. He gets the Crescent Slash. Tries to deny some damage, but 957 resets the fight. Ray is massive. Pepper will go down very early on. That is the feast used. Smite not yet ready for Clear Love as the fight breaks out, but Mystic and Shie cannot walk forward without Pepper. Clear Love's on the side, looking for an opening, does not see it in EDG. They've done it once, now they need to do it again, but there's a wave pushing bottom.
And they do have the teleport on Ray, so they could have him come back into this fight, but like you said, they are choosing to clear out the bot wave before they get into that. I honestly felt that engage from W was a little ambitious. They sent the Xin Zhao in.
Oh, here comes the teleport from 957. They're going to try to pin Mystic down. He's over the wall. The flash. He gets slowed. He uses his own to get some distance. The further slow. Rek'Sai chases. And again, Mystic is kiting this out. Sidesteps the rupture. I cannot believe it. The laser finally brings him low. The carries of WE are dead. It's
Look at the Elder.
He's at the Elder. He's going to take it down. That does put WE on the board, but it's 3 versus 5. Pepper's up in 10 seconds, but there's no way he makes it in time.
It does look like EDG once again are going to take down another Baron. That's a very clever play from Ray right there. What he did was, of course, chomp down on Pepper. He had the true damage. He was close to Pepper. There's nothing they could do about it.
Abyssal Voyage, go to Shie. He flashes back. That's the rupture missing. He's trying to run with the Spellbinders as Mako has no flash tongue lash. And another teleport. iBoy's going in there. He's got the Chains of Corruption, but they get him over the wall. iBoy is dead. Shie chasing Mako down. The rupture again going to be sidestepped. Clear Love from the side, looking for the flank. As Scout, he's got the lasers ready. Pepper looks to join. Shie finally is dead, and WE could be falling apart. Ben is running. 957 running as well. 3-man Shadow Dash, but there's nothing he can do with no carries. He will die, and 4 members of WE are dead. EDG have the Baron.
Yep, and with the Baron up, I feel like they do have the pushing power. Remember, they do have the triple Infernal Drakes, they have more damage, and now they don't need to worry about side lane control. So it should be about EDG grouping up and sieging against W for the next couple of seconds.
This game was not supposed to be this close, Clement.
Yeah, that teleport from iBoy was questionable, but yeah. I have to say it got the job done. It's not iBoy, it's iBait.
He doesn't even have a GA. He doesn't even have a stopwatch. What is he going to do? Outplay how many of the cleanses and snares and stuns with just a Mercurial Scimitar? Okay, here's the push.
Hey, he baited,
back up.
He baited 3 people to die in that fight.
He did,
and they can push without him.
The mid-tier 2 is down. He doesn't have the teleport to follow up, but look at the damage that they're doing to this turret. They could be trying to push it down. Shie's up in 5 seconds, but the inhibitor has fallen. EDG finally claim map control and listen to the crowd.
It's been a long time since people have cheered this hard for EDG. They've been on such a downward trend. 22 days, close to a month, without a win. Something that people have never seen before and could finally come to close in Xi'an.
And this is the chase onto Shie. Immediately flashing away as quick as he can to get away from that rupture. And as you said, iBait, newest Apple product.
Exactly, it's a good Steve Jobs product. You can see he actually baited 3 people to come into this fight and he got another 3 kills. So, you know, you could argue if that fight was, the start of the fight was good.
It's still even a bit risky here because WE could have just backed away.
W definitely could have backed. So,
there's a fight going down in the bottom of the screen. It looks like what's happening on live is...
Pepper's dead.
Yeah, Pepper does appear to have died. 957, he's very low health. Actually, he is dead, you are correct, but now it's Mystic with no tanks.
EDG could look to close right here.
The tanks are gone. Shie shows himself mid. He's got teleport. They're trying to chase on the Mystic. The inhibitor goes down. They're still racing forward. Clear Love is standing as a bodyguard for Mystic. The inhibitor drops. Shie finally goes forward. The flash from iBoy. But Mystic matches with his own as he goes to the side, still firing across. Can he get through the health pool? Rupture onto Mystic. He goes low. Finally will be tagged. They chase down in another sidestep. But EDG, they're rushing the Nexus. They're finally turning onto it. And the damage just isn't there. EDG played the numbers game and they come up victorious as they take game 1 against Team WE.
And in the final siege, this was bound to happen. Someone was going to get caught by one of those crucial CCs. The Chains of Corruption and the knockup coming out from Vel'Koz is just so hard to land over extended sieges. And what a great answer for EDG to their recent problems. We can't play split push, it's fine. We're going to group up and we're going to siege your towers.
WE, oh, they gave EDG a run for their money. They said this is not just going to be a pushover game. You cannot walk into our house and upset us. And I'm not sure if that's because WE was just relying on Mystic and Shie to hard carry, or if it was EDG just making those same mistakes around the 20 to 30 minute mark.
So I actually felt like W had a very good start at the start of the game. 3 kills onto Pepper right away. They already snowballed the mid and terms of the top lane as well. But unfortunately, I think losing control of the bot lane was the biggest W mistake in the early game. And it was kind of bound to happen with Mystic's champion pool and his disdain for Varus. So that's where we really see EDG kind of pull things into their court.
Look at that damage. Mystic played his heart out. 61,200 damage. Holy cow. The only person who even came close was Scout at 43,000 on the opposite side, and you can see the gold graph.
It feels bad because I actually feel like if there wasn't those triple infernals, those late game team fights would have been much more one-sided in W's favor.
If those were triple ocean or triple cloud or
they had a
even
very
triple mountain.
Bad draw in terms of the RNG and losing bot side so early on, but it was a great draft from EDG. They understood the weakness from WE, and that's they don't play Varus. Varus is the #1 pick in the AD position right now, so EDG just waltzes in on their blue side and take the strongest bot lane available in this meta. All the teams are doing this, and W just hand it over. They're like, we're going to lose bot side. It's done.
They were still able to stall it out, though, by playing towards the top tier 1, by defending the mid tier 1 so frequently against those pushes. So they did try to deny the aggressive snowball from EDG a little bit later on. But like you said, it's so risky. Then again, as I continue to think about that early game, they had Pepper to bridge them through the early game pretty successfully.
Yeah, they definitely did. But I don't feel like the skirmish and kind of like the pick style is really what WE excels at. We don't actually see them play that way. And if you think about the 1-3-1, even though they did split up EDG and stall the game out, they never actually found a proactive play by themselves. And that's a big question mark for me. That's what I said when I saw the WE comp. It works on paper, but I'm not sure it's the greatest for WE right here because their identity is still very much locked into the 5v5. And EDG were definitely the better 5v5 composition. So
yeah, at least this game.
They need to change that, I feel.
Finally able to fix up the draft a little bit, and it pays off for them. We could see what happened when that 5v5 was at Baron, how close those skirmishes was. I cannot believe Mystic and Shia get this outplay here.
Yeah, and you have to remember, this is a triple infernal on EDG's side. They're still able to take them down. Mystic doing mountains of damage, just standing outside of the fight, no lockdown coming in. Vel'Koz really isn't in range, and they just lock EDG down. Take the Baron away from all of them.
Mystic, oh man, flashing over the abilities of Scout to chase him down as the auto attack homes in at the very end. I mean, Xie does die at the very end by walking up and perhaps disrespecting Ray just a little bit too much, but this is a massive attempt from WE to get back into the game when really they shouldn't have been. It was 4 versus 5. EDG were already on the Baron, and WE said, great, right where we want you.
Mystic was big at this point, 4 completed items, but I felt like EDG played really smart after they, around the Baron pit. In the second Baron fight, they were able to flank and collapse on Mystic. That gave them the entire mid lane as well, and then they found more picks into the bottom side and really broke the tempo that WE was trying to go for. Remember, WE is supposed to be the one that's playing around their globals and making the picks and stuff like that. But in the end, it still turned out to be EDG that had that card in their hand. And I don't even feel like they won through like their big team fight comp. I actually felt like they won through the out picks that they had in the later half of the game, where they were able to wrestle away the objectives.
Finding that kill onto 957 and Pepper at the very end. Without the tanks, it was all up to Mystic, and he was machine gunning those Mystic shots at the very end, and you could just see the lack of damage that he was doing to a 6-item fully feasted Cho'Gath. I would love to know how many stacks he had at the very end, but it was real tough.
So the most that we've seen Cho'Gath have when Ray plays it, he had a 6600 HP Cho'Gath, and with the Gargoyle's Plate, that would take it to double, which is
13,200 health.
Exactly. So it would be somewhere around that range, and just imagine the true damage he would be doing to Pepper.
Yeah.
If any CC landed on him,
which is I think what happened at the very end.
Yeah.
957 might have been looking for the Shadow
Dash. If we have
or
a
maybe
replay
Pepper
for that, that would be absolutely great, because that was definitely the game-winning fight.
Scout will take our MVP though for the damage that he was able to output for EDG. Absolutely massive on that Vel'Koz, and despite the huge numbers of kills in that game, Scout was able to play back. He only died 3 times.
I was really surprised by Scout because when we talk about him, he's a frontline mage. He goes into the thick of things, but during the first Infernal Drake, I thought he played that incredibly well. He went over the wall. He was always looking for terrain to buffer his front, and put him in a position where he could not be touched by WE's composition. So a good change of style and a great way to play the team fights.
Yeah, it absolutely paid off. I do want to come back, though, to EDG and that 20 to 30 minute mark. I mean, we talked about it at the beginning of the day where they constantly try to set up plays around the other side of the map. We didn't see that this time. They were in the mid lane, but they still disrespected the 28-minute Baron and still got punished by it.
That is the big question. Was that actually an intended trade or not? And the more I think about it, though I was giving them the benefit of the doubt in the game earlier, I actually think that probably wasn't intended.
Yeah.
Because that dragged the game out where Mystic was becoming a real problem, and it wasn't sure if that they could actually finish out the 5v5. You go super late game, and an AD carry has Gathering Storm, and you can't lock him down. He can 1v5 and clean up the entire team fight. So that's probably not a result that EDG wanted to see, and it was probably just that miscommunication with Scout, which, if you've seen the analyst desk we had just earlier, there's a lot of B-roll of Scout going on his own, not going on the team,
Realm Warring in,
and them losing the Baron.
It's a bit of a mess. We're going to find out, though, if that's going to happen once again, as game number 2 is coming at you in just a few minutes.
想要征服他人，必先战胜自己。EDG 的队名就是鞭策我们的动力。